Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kings Talk, presented by Cap City Crown. This is Tony with me. As always, we've got John. It's the off season officially for the Kings. I mean, it has been, I guess, for at least a week now. But now it really feels like the off season. The playoffs are far enough away now where we can start looking toward the future. It is an important off season ahead as the Kings look to improve on a 48 win season. They have several free agents that they should either go after, or maybe a couple players on their team they should resign. I don't know. There's a lot going on, or maybe not as much as past off seasons. I don't know. Here we are. It's an interesting time. But John, how are you feeling about this off season?
I think what's interesting about this offseason and what lies ahead is in a lot of ways it's similar in that there's like acute objectives. Like last season, you had to get a head coach. You know, you had a number 4 overall pick. And then like this year, you have decisions about Barnes, potential free agents. But overall, it's like, I feel like the difference between a year ago and now was that there was kind of like, it was kind of like a big picture kind of idea going towards like whatever the big picture goal is. But now that goal has been narrowed. It's about improving upon 48 wins. It's about actually competing for the conference title. I mean, whether or not they're ready for it, we'll see. The offseason's got to play out, but it's kind of funneling down into specifics now. And I think that's kind of exciting. It's not kind of a vague situation of like, can the Kings get better? Can they make the play-in? It's like, no, are they a contender or not? So it's kind of interesting in that manner.
I think it's interesting too, it's going to be totally different from past years, is that we're not going to have a pick in the lottery. I don't think we had a draft pick, a first round pick in 2000. What was it? 19? Did we have a draft pick?
I was going to say.
Because we had traded it to that Sixers deal. That was just a terrible move by Vlade. But other than that, I mean, the Kings are just, they're just always in the lottery, and it's just going to be a lot different this year.
Honestly, the draft is like, it feels like it's been put on the back burner because you're talking about a late first round pick.
Yeah, 24th, I believe. The only exciting part, I guess, that may be picking where we are, and even that is kind of a stretch at this point. What I'm about to say is that we're kind of in the Chris Murray range, Keegan's brother, his twin brother. I think a lot of mock drafts, I see him going 19 to the Warriors, which would be kind of interesting. But at number 24, I guess if he falls, or maybe the Kings want to trade up to get him, I don't know. I don't know how well he would fit. I haven't really done too much research in the draft and the players, but yeah. Other than that, just because you have to usually like the front thing going on at this time. It's like, all right, I think the draft lottery, it might be this week, maybe it's next week, I don't remember, but because I don't care. It's usually like one of the bigger moments of the offseason. It's like, all right, let's see if the Kings can move up. No, this year it's kind of just like, all right, well, 24th pick, let's see what happens.
Yeah, honestly, the thing that makes me happy about that is we won't have to see Sabonis show up to the lottery drawing and wearing that terrible outfit.
I know, that was a pretty bad outfit.
I'm like, what are you doing? It's like the shiny silver suit material.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan, but hey, it was luck. We got the number 4 pick and turned that into Keegan Murray, who today actually, or yesterday, whenever. I mean, we technically record this on a Monday, but we don't release till Tuesday. He got named to the All-Rookie First Team. I don't think that's too big of a surprise. He is he set the rookie record in 3-pointers made, and was the first rookie to hit 200 threes in a season. He had a great rookie year. He had a decent playoff run too. So I just want to put that out there. Keegan, give him his props. All-Rookie First Team. First player since Bagley? Was Bagley first team All-Rookie? I don't remember.
He was one of the... I don't know if he was... I think he was first team.
I think he was first team, too.
Which is kind of crazy.
That's what you have to live up to, Keegan.
All you got to do is not get hurt and not be a little baby.
Oh no, Halliburton was probably first team All Rookie.
Oh my goodness.
How did we forget?
Ty?
Was he?
I
He
don't
had to
know.
have been, right? But there's also like LaMelo and
Yeah, because he
Anthony
was.
Edwards, who are also rookies.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Halliburton got hurt at the end of that season.
He was NBA. He was All Rookie first team.
Okay. It worked out then.
Yeah. Kings had that's McNair for you. Was Davion? Was he All Rookie? I don't think so.
I don't think he was. But yeah, I mean, on the notion of Murray making it, that's just another thing to add to the accolades related to the Kings this season. Up
Mm-hmm.
and down. It's crazy. From McNair, Brown, different players getting recognized. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
They should have an Iron Man award.
Yeah, well, I know who'd win it. It'd be Michael Bridges, and that's funny that you say that, um, because Michael Bridges played 83 games this year, one more game than the regular NBA season, because he got traded to the Nets, and I guess they had one more game. I don't know,
That's
whatever.
great. I
However
didn't
that
even know
math.
that. I had
Yeah,
no
he played
idea.
83 this year, which brings up an interesting point to bring Michael Bridges and Keegan Murray together and the offseason, kind of all tied into one. I saw a proposed trade on Bleacher Report. I think they just did like all the playoffs teams that lost in the first round. Like, here's a proposed trade for the offseason for them. And it was like Rashawn Holmes, Keegan Murray, and two future first round picks for Michael Bridges. What do you think about that trade?
I don't know. I mean, like that. Do the Nets even want to get rid of Bridges?
I don't know. I'm kind of I don't know about that situation either.
Because it's the same question with Cam Johnson. Because a lot of people are like, the Kings should go out and sign Cam Johnson. I'm like, are the Nets going to let him go? I mean,
I think he's an RFA, restricted free agent.
right.
But again, you'd have to, outbid the Nets at that point.
Or hope that the Nets just don't care. I don't know. I mean, like, I feel like anytime you get into that discussion, I don't know what the Nets' plans are, but if I had to assume, I mean, they traded away some of the best players in the league ever, and they got some of the more up and coming players. I mean, I feel like they're on a pretty decent track. I don't know if they'd want to do that, but if the Kings could do that, you'd be getting a legitimate two-way player that would, I mean, like, just speaking strictly, because it's like you don't want to think about getting rid of Murray because Murray's got such upside to him. But I mean, Bridges is ready to go. I mean, like, that would put you in the driver's seat right now. But I don't know. I just don't know if I ever really see that happening. I think that'd be cool, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm not really sure if the Nets would do it either. I'm not really sure what they're going for right
Well,
now.
let's get rid of being reasonable and let's act like he's total, like the Nets don't give a crap and they'll
Okay, say the Nets offered us that trade. I don't know. It'd be really hard to part with Keegan Murray this
and
early.
and two firsts. Yeah,
And yeah,
no.
and two for I could part with two first and like Davion Mitchell
Yeah.
for Michael Bridges. Or I wish we just had like one other like prospect who's like, yeah, I'd be down to get rid of him, but who has enough like value. And maybe Mitchell proved himself enough in the playoffs and as a starter throughout his career, where maybe the Nets, who are on the rebuilding path at this point, it seems like, or like, oh, maybe want to take a chance on him. I don't know if that'll be enough for Michael Bridges though.
Yeah.
Because Michael Bridges had a huge second half on the Nets, um, and he showed that he can be like a star player on his own if needed to be. Or when he was on the Suns, went to the went to the finals with the Suns as like a role player and was a great role player. So he showed that he can fit like each role very well. He's just a good player, good on both sides of the ball. I think Bridges would be so good on this team. Fits the timeline. I don't know if the Kings have what it takes unless they offer three first rounders. Really, I don't know. The market's so weird nowadays. Just like so many picks are always involved in every trade now.
Yeah,
So
I wonder if you could just throw 5 second-round picks, and does that equate to 2 first-round now?
yes, second
Especially if you're
rounders.
talking about a team that'd be getting McCall Bridges. So I mean, like that's you're talking about a team that's not going to have a high pick most likely. So aren't those
Yeah,
essentially second-round picks? I don't
I
know.
right. That's a good point.
And like the value of second-round picks just in this trade deadline alone was interesting.
So
Huh.
high.
Yeah.
I don't know why second round picks are worth so much. Like, I mean, I think drafts are getting a little deeper nowadays. You see decent guys getting picked in the second round nowadays, unlike years past. But still, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, the fact that McNair didn't use second-round picks at the trade deadline, like it almost makes you wonder: is he just loading those up to make a big move?
Yeah,
That doesn't not really something I have an answer to, but I mean that's the great thing about McNair is like if you listen to his uh, end of season presser last Wednesday, just non-answers galore. That's what I put in my notes. This is not like vague.
non-answers.
Yeah, it's just vague. We'll sit down and talk about it in a couple weeks. I mean, like to be fair, it's like the season had just ended days before, but it was funny when they're like asking Mike Brown on last Tuesday about that stuff. He's like, I'm just looking forward to riding my Harley. Like, what are you asking me these questions for?
His
So it's really,
Harley, Mike
yeah,
Brown,
he's a big motorcycle guy.
really.
Yeah,
If a helmet can fit over that noggin.
I think with that noggin, he is not required to wear a helmet. He's a hard headed guy, but yeah, it's tough to say, but like the more and more you think about it, it's just like if the Kings had the opportunity to get Bridges, obviously that whole thing of putting Mitchell instead of Murray in there, that's a no-brainer. But even with Murray, even with the first round picks, I don't know. I feel like you got to go for that. I feel like Bridges is the level of player. We saw the jump he took getting basically the primary role in Brooklyn. The jump for next season's got to be huge. So I think you'd be getting one of the better players in the league. Again, a proven two-way player. And that would put you in the driver's seat in the Western Conference, I feel like.
So you would trade Murray for him? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't know. I might regret that, but I feel
mean,
kind of okay saying that because I really don't feel like this is going to happen or even come close to. So I feel kind of free in that way,
I mean, hey, like if you asked me 2 years ago, would you trade Halliburton for Sabonis? I'd be very hesitant, but I mean, like where we are now, right? So I get
Yeah.
it. I feel like as fans, you get attached to your rookies, and you don't want to trade away a gem. I mean, Halliburton was an all-star this year and like that, but if it's going to work out for the better, it's going to work out for the better. So it's hard, people get stuck getting attached, but I don't know. That's why I like McNair. I just trust what that guy does at the end of the
Exactly.
day.
I was just about to make that turn. I was just going to be like, and that's one of the reasons we use the phrase in McNair we trust so much,
Yeah.
because he's proven that whatever decision he makes is at the very least level-headed and not going to hurt you. And on the plus side, it can do something like into playoff drought, get all sorts of different young talent on this team that's oriented towards their primes coming up. I mean, whatever he wants to do.
And we got the executive of the year. He won that for a reason.
Yeah, which is just so. It just seemed like even more so than Mike Brown, in my opinion, was just like that. Just feels like a no-brainer.
Yeah. Did you see the Stockton GM won
Yeah,
executive of the year too? That's pretty cool.
yeah. Stockton had a hell of a year. I feel like I want to pay more attention to that G League situation next season.
Yeah, they got a lot of players. They got like what's his name? Trey Burke. Remember Trey Burke?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he went to the guy that went to Michigan. Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah.
Trey Burke.
With Stauskas. He went to Michigan with Stauskas and Tim
Right.
Hardaway Jr.
Yeah, well, we were talking about Jimmer last week. We could talk. Got a Stauskas story?
I own 2 Kings jerseys, Jimmer Fredette's and Nick Stauskas's. So
Was the Stauskas thing when you and 2 fellows went and you guys all got a Stauskas jersey in a different color?
no, that was Jimmer. That was after he got traded though too, because they were half off.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Stauskas, I have If you remember, he was called Sauce Castillo during
Hmm.
like a what's it called, like closed captioning during a game,
Hmm.
and they had like a Sauce Castillo night at the Kings on Easter, like back in 2014 or 15. Um, and they gave away shirts and a Sauce Castillo shirt. And while you were leaving the arena, they gave away 2 bottles of hot sauce that said like Sauce Castillo on it. And each person who left got 2. And I still have mine, my 2 hot sauce bottles, Sauce Castillo. And he also paired up with a like a hot sauce brand, and
Oh,
they sold Sauce Castillo. And I was at the store one day, and I was like, I was in the like discount bin, and I was like looking. It was just like it was a Sauce Castillo like hot sauce, like the real one he partnered up with. I'm like, well, I guess I got to add this to the collection of my expired hot sauce, and so yeah, that's my Nick Stauskas story.
man. That seems like the beginning of the hot sauce craze when everybody was doing hot sauce.
Yeah, that's true, huh? Hot sauce is big.
There's like this
I was
place.
just, huh?
Yeah, there's this place at the Grove in LA. I
Uh,
used to live in LA, and they have like this little store because there's like little shops and stuff there, and there's just dedicated to hot sauce, and you can see that type of place like everywhere. I'm just like, do people actually care that much about? I mean, maybe I don't get it, but just give me pepper plant hot sauce. I'm good to go. I don't need crazy. This will burn the hairs on your brain. I'm like, there's hairs on our brain. Like what? They have the crazy. They just try to outdo each other, and it's just like, can you even taste anything anymore? Have you burned your taste buds? I don't know. This is
I
King's
agree.
talk, not hot sauce talk. So
Let's just change it. Hot sauce talk.
it's the summertime. It's starting to get hot outside. It's time to talk about some sauce.
That's what the off season is going to do to us
Yeah.
all
Nah.
summer long.
No, we're not going to be talking about the sauce. We'll be talking about the draft, like Grady Dick out of
Grady
Kansas.
Dick. Explain.
Great. It's just the greatest name in the draft. I can't wait till Adam Silver goes out there and goes with the 15th pick in the NBA draft, Grady Dick. Just
What school does he go to?
Kansas, I think.
It sounds like a Kansas name.
Yeah, like it doesn't. It's not similar in the name, but like Christian Brown.
Dude, it's so funny. I was thinking Christian Brown too. I don't know why. I was thinking Christian Brown when he kept saying Grady Dick. I feel like if Grady Dick looked like someone, he would look like Christian Brown. And I
Well,
hate
yeah,
that his name's Brown too. It should be Braun.
that is annoying. but yeah, Kansas pumping out. Hopefully, gringos that can play a role on an NBA team. Because credit to Christian Brown. I mean, he carved out a role with Denver, and like that's a big deal for a rook. So
Yeah.
good for him. Good for Denver. You see Jokic push the
Yeah.
Suns owner.
Yeah. It came out that he's not going to be suspended though.
Nor should he.
Obviously.
I think he got pushed before he ended up giving a shove to the Suns owner, who flopped, by the way.
Who flopped and was holding the ball? Whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Like Mike Malone said, it's like just some guy thinking he's part of the game.
Yeah,
This,
exactly.
this is all funny. It's like he doesn't get special treatment because he's an owner.
No. If you're going to grab the ball, whatever. I don't even care.
Yeah.
I was just like watching this. I'm just like, it's not even worth my time. Like he's not going to get suspended, and the Suns owner shouldn't be holding on to the ball, and then everyone start crying about it.
Yeah,
No,
it's
he got
so
pushed.
stupid, especially in the playoffs where it's like Draymond did the stomp, and then like Grant Williams got his head stepped on, and
Yeah,
like, it seems like everybody's grabbing each other's legs.
yeah.
It's crazy, and it's just like, no, the owner got pushed. That's wrong.
Do you remember? Do you remember Slam Ball?
Yeah, like the trampoline.
They're bringing that back. I saw that today. Auditions are being held. Tryouts being held in the summer. If you want to go audition,
Oh man, let's do it.
I mean, Slam Ball. I'm totally gonna watch that too.
We still got to get you to try out for the Santa Cruz Warriors. They had an open
Yes.
tryout back when we were in college. We were like, let's drive down there. Let's do it. Tony had a great 3-point shot. He could bring it right back, I'm sure. Just a little bit of
Yeah.
practice.
Wasn't Clay's brother on the Santa Cruz Warriors?
Um,
Not Trace. Who was the other one?
was he?
Yeah. He has a
Because
Michael Thompson. Yeah, I think he has a Michael Jr.
that's crazy.
Yeah. I think he was
What
on
an
the Santa.
athletic family.
I know. He's just the black sheep. He's only the one not. He's the one not in the the pros. Trace is in the, just go play football, son. We got to represent each sport. Who do you think? Who do you think the dad's rooting for against? Like, I mean, you assume he's rooting for his son, but he's also like a Showtime Laker.
I don't know. I mean,
Probably like you, just can't lose. Like whatever in the first
Yeah.
round.
sounds good. It's like I don't know. It's probably just like one of those things where it's like, just don't hurt my son. Make sure he goes off. But he probably wants to keep working deep into the playoffs because he does the radio, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah. You were saying that. I forgot.
Yeah. So he's also technically works for the Lakers.
Yeah, I totally forgot. He does. Interesting.
Clay.
Anyways, back to the Kings somehow. What do we got?
Well, I mean, we could get more into the free agency, but we're going to have a lot of time to do that. And we are still coming off about a week away or a week past the end of the season. We did first half grades rather, at the All-Star break for each guy. And I don't know, we could go through and do the second half, which would include post All-Star break. And, there's 7 playoff games. So go ahead and go through that, assess people's performances, and maybe even assign a final grade if you want.
Okay, I like it. You want to start with the point guards or starter? Let's just go through position. I think that's how we did it in the past.
Position sounds good.
We'll start with point guard De'Aaron Fox. I mean, A plus.
Yeah, he got an
Enough
A plus in the first half. I think just in the fact that he kind of checked like all these boxes that we had, and then the second half he just continued doing it. And then was it when was his baby born? When was baby Rain born? That was he into February?
Was that Pacers game where he missed?
Yeah,
and Davion started.
Yeah, so that was the end.
That was February 3rd. That was the day I got married.
Oh my gosh!
I know. I think my wedding anniversary is the Fox's baby's birthday.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, in short, though, De'Aaron Fox did everything that he needed to do to close out the season, basically continuing that All NBA trajectory, and he was the king of the playoffs. I mean, it was like, him, Curry, and Looney were just standouts in that series, and you throw Monk in there too, probably. But De'Aaron Fox, I mean, put himself on the map finally, just continuing to do what he did at a high level. He's convinced me, and I feel like I was stuck with Sabonis on this whole thing the whole year, but it's just like, Fox it feels like he's the best player. And I feel like, obviously, I feel like getting into this discussion so murky because it's like, what do we even, like, there's clear cut between like, who's the driving force and then who's kind of the stabilizing force. But it just feels like Fox is a little bit of both. I mean, definitely that driving force, but even he is a little bit of a stabilizer.
Yeah, he definitely kind of started changing that narrative. Not the narrative, but like our way of thinking. During the playoffs, for sure, when it really mattered, when Sabonis was kind of being held down or held back by the Warriors' defense, and Fox just shined. So he definitely raised some questions on maybe who the best player is. I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, it never really matters.
Yeah, he kind of done it since the beginning of the season, but it's just like he's the main leader of this team in so many different ways.
That is true. He is the leader.
On the floor, a leader by example. He's probably one of the more vocal leaders. I think of him and Sabonis. Sabonis is out there. He's a great vocal leader as well. But I don't know. Just Fox has that grit to him, And we were talking about it. It's like the way he'll draw with guys, kind of. I mean, take what you want. I mean, from Draymond, but hearing Draymond say like, yeah, I just gained respect for Fox. It's like, yeah, you should have. I mean, that guy was just he was a joy to watch. And I try not to root too much for personal guys too much, or I try to see it as objective as possible. But it's like he formed a special soft spot in my heart for De'Aaron Fox. That guy's just a pure competitor, leader, one of the best in the game. I think it's give him an A+ again for the second half and an A+ overall. I mean, he's just surpassing expectations and then some.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's an easy one. But on to Mitchell, maybe a little harder of a choice. What do we give him in the first half? Maybe
He
a
got
B?
a C in the first half.
A C.
He was very disappointing in that Indiana game where he started for Fox. Was
Yeah.
one of the highlights, because it just seemed like that was such an illustrative performance. Him getting a starting role where he just did not have his foot anywhere near the gas pedal on the offensive end. Never made attempts to get into the paint. I don't know, have the stats right in front of me, but it's just like, unless it was an open three that came into his lap, or maybe something in transition, he was never pushing for anything. And after that, you saw him, especially after the All-Star break, you saw him settle into his role, find a nice mix of aggression that really started to shine in the late and then into the playoffs. I think he really had a bounce back second half, if we can call it that. I mean, I would be kind of tempted to give him an A-, because it's like when you start talking, especially if we're talking about grades based on specific expectations and specific role, not like overall, like a player's overall on a 2K roster, but relative to the role and expectations, that's a bounce back second half. I would almost give him an A. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely stepped it up after that Indiana game. And I mean, just his playoff performance, I thought was spectacular. The way he guarded Curry, the way he started to really show off his offensive skill set when it was needed during the playoffs. Yeah, I was thinking, I'm gonna go with an A-. I was kind of thinking B+, A-.
Yeah,
I can be
that's
talking
fair.
an A-, maybe not an A. I agree with expectations and whatnot, but I mean, I feel like for him to get an A or an A+, he'd really have to wow me. But for his role, he was solid and what the Kings expected out of him.
I think that's fair. I mean, I think one of the things that would have probably been more worthy of an A would be if let me see what his post All-Star break percentage was. Yeah, he's if he shot over 34% from three in the second half, but he didn't. He only shot 32.3% from three in the second half. I feel like and you even hear him talk about it in his into the season press conference. It's like, what's your goal for the offseason? It's like same as last year. It's shooting, consistency, and being a vocal leader on the floor. And you really would like to see that 3-point shot at least start to fall a little more consistently. But I mean, overall, I would, with the C in the first half and A- in the second half, B- B for the overall in the season. Not the best second season, but I think as it went on, he just kept climbing, and it really is setting up for a pretty critical third season for him. But B- B overall. What do you think?
I'm going to go with a B. I mean, his first half wasn't spectacular, but he really showed off in the second half and meeting down the middle between an A- and a C. I think B is solid. He had a D. I think he had a B year.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. And then on to, I guess, Dellavedova.
I mean, perhaps the best of the bunch.
Yeah, I don't even know. I was I know you gave Alex Len, and what was it? What was the exact word? What was his grade?
In the first half?
Yeah.
Well, I gave him a D+, but
We gave him a D+. Okay, maybe, what did I want it? What's the word, I guess? It just should be.
like an incomplete?
Incomplete, yeah. I don't remember him playing much in the second half. I mean, for when he did, that was non-garbage time. I mean, I want to say he did well. I don't remember it being much though.
Hmm.
And then he broke his hand
Yeah.
and didn't even play in the playoffs. I almost want to give him an incomplete, and if anything, I just want to give him an A because I feel like when he did come in, he was fine.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's so interesting with Dellavedova because in a lot of ways, he's just exactly what you want. And even with him not playing so much in the second half, it's like you hear those stories about him sitting down with Terrence Davis on the team plane or whatever. And then Davis like goes off in the next game with an opportunity. I think Herter had hurt his leg or something, lower leg or knee, kind of late in the year and missed a few. Outside of that stuff, it's the impact on the floor, like you said, didn't necessarily have to be there, so it wasn't really there. But just in terms of being that third point guard, which includes kind of bringing that championship experience, that leadership. I mean, I guess it would be kind of hard to give him an A. Although I guess in the first half, I guess my argument was B plus because I felt like if he had to take over backup point guard duties for like 2 or 3 weeks, which thankfully never happened, I just wasn't convinced that he would have been perfect, obviously. I mean, maybe just not exceptional. But that was more like speculation and me wanting to be a tough ass. I mean, I guess it's kind of hard to give him anything lower than an A minus, because think about the third point guard. We even said it a couple of weeks ago on the podcast that it's like this guy's more than a third point guard. He's essentially an extra member of the coaching staff. And we're looking at an offseason where they're going to make a decision. He's probably going to make the decision whether he wants to continue playing. I think he's only 32, so that's not
Dang, that's
crazy. Or he's just going to join the coaching staff, which maybe is predicated on whether Jordi Fernandez gets a job somewhere else as a head coach, and then just kind of moving everybody up the line. But that's more for the future. We're talking about this season. I mean, it seems kind of easy to give him an A.
Yeah.
Relative to the role.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's exactly what you wanted in a third string point guard. And when his number was called, he showed up to play.
Yeah. I think the one thing that's a shame is that when he hurt his hand, it was the game they clinched, I think, and it was in garbage time. It was definitely in Portland. It was one of those 2 games in Portland. And it's just like, like what a bummer to get hurt.
I know.
Yeah.
I wanted to see him take on at least Curry for a little bit in the playoffs, but
yeah, throwing those different looks at him, that would have been. I mean, everybody in the league would have eaten that up, especially the way J.R. Smith kind of set out the runway for that.
Yeah, that is true.
That'd been crazy.
That'd been fun.
Yeah, but good group of point guards there.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, I mean, I think Fox really carried it to, an A. Dellavedova carried 2 with his A. So, I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's like an A minus group, even with Mitchell's B. They were spectacular.
Yeah, I think Davion's second half and playoff showing was just a huge boost to him.
Yeah, I think so too.
But moving on down.
Shooting guards, next guard spot, Kevin Herter. What did we give him in the first half? B plus?
B plus.
B plus. Man, because the second half wasn't terrible. He started shooting the ball a little better after the All-Star break. But, I mean, at the end of the day, looking at those playoffs, it's hard not to give this guy like a C, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you said that, because that sets up for a hearty conversation here. For the second half and playoffs, I was tempted to give him a B minus because I was tempted to give him a B plus just by the end of the regular season alone. And then the playoff performance we could totally agree. If we were grading that playoff performance on its own, that is not above a 70% in any way. It's probably, I don't believe in giving people Fs if they're putting in some kind of an effort, I guess. Just as professionals, let's give them that respect. I don't think anybody's necessarily a failure, but it's like, damn, dude, what a drop off.
Yeah.
He was still really good in March. He shot over 42% in the second half. So that he really ended the regular season pretty well. Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to giving him a C plus in the second half. Although my gut feeling was B minus, just because I don't know. But I guess you have to weigh the playoffs a little more importantly. I mean, that's kind of a big deal.
That's how I feel.
Yeah. So okay, C plus. I kind of agree with that. And also like let's not lose sight of the fact that like defensively, I mean, aside from his weak side help, which never really got to surface too much in the playoffs, he had a really rough year at different points. And we talked about him perhaps helping with his conditioning and stuff in the offseason because of all his movement on offense, and maybe that would help keep his legs fresher throughout the season. I think that's even more paramount because of what it would do for him on defense. I mean, he's got to improve that somehow. So I don't know. We'll have to see there, but yeah, he knows that he's got to work on conditioning and stuff. Just how much this team moves and likes to run and whatnot. And I think that definitely applies to the defensive end too.
Yeah, I think it does. And
A lot of room
luckily
to
he said he's going to work on it because he needs to.
I'm glad
Big
he's
time. Yeah, thanks, Big Hurt.
You really did a big hurt to the team, huh? No.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, B plus in the first half. Well, C plus. So what? B minus overall or B? That's kind of.
I'm good with the B minus. I honestly just because I think the playoffs just really outweigh everything, and he was that bad in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Pathetic.
Oof.
Sorry, Kevin. I hate to say it because
more pathetic than wearing the headband at the 3-point contest.
God, luckily that was in the first half, right? Technically,
Or
whatever you call it. I mean,
still
even
cut
though
him
the
slack.
All-Star break, it's like not really the half, but it's like that's what everyone calls the half.
Yeah. I cut him slack for the charade he had to put up with from the media after that.
And he came out strong after that, but we always kind of expected it. It's like, all right, this guy, he needs some rest. And he got it, but then once his legs got tired again, he was all downhill.
Yeah, so
On to
B
King Monk.
Oh my goodness, King Monk.
Do you know Malik means king?
Arabic, bro?
Dude, how'd you know?
I didn't think you knew that. I didn't think anybody knew that Malik meant king. Because I don't think anybody's ever said that on a broadcast before. And if they said it, they definitely didn't repeat it every week. Oh, wait. Mark Jones did. He said it every week.
Dude. Every week.
But he sure played like a king. I think if we're talking about weighing the playoffs pretty big. I mean, we gave him a B in the first half. I think a lot of that was predicated on the fact that he was kind of inconsistent and maybe got banged up at a certain point, and his impact kind of seemed to wane for a second there. But I feel like he had a really good second half, and he was probably the second. I'm not probably. He was the second best player on the Kings in the playoffs. I want to give him an A minus for the second half.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to. He was incredible. Especially in those playoffs, good off the bench. Yeah, he was still inconsistent, but if we're grading the playoffs a little higher to weight the average, I mean, A minus for sure. He stepped up when he needed to, and he was one of the better bench players. I mean, all season really. So yeah, I mean, he deserves nothing less than an A minus.
He shot over 42% in the second. I mean, post All-Star break, he had the highest plus minus in the playoffs of any Kings player. He was just fantastic, and it's just such a joy to watch him and Fox, old buddies, just go off together.
Yeah, it really is, huh?
Yeah, kind of talking about that soft spot forming. It's just like, man, Malik Monk's always been a funny guy. It's always funny to listen to him go up for a layup. I remember like one of the preseason games, he went up for a layup and like didn't get a foul call. You just hear him go, "Oh god damn!" And it's just like you can hear it on the camera. I'm like, I'm gonna love this guy. I'm gonna love this guy so much. You hear that all the time. He's a funny guy. He's always laughing. He's really one of the more pleasing players to watch on this team. I love
Malik. He's such a fun guy.
Yeah, but that's not even why he gets an A minus. He was just honestly terrific, consistent with his facilitation. He was around 4 assists all season. His defense, we were talking about at the beginning of the season. I think this is kind of important to note. We were like, yeah, everybody's so hyped on Malik Monk, but I don't think people realize that he's a real liability on defense. That's like, man, he was not a liability on defense. He was surprisingly decent on defense. I mean, obviously he had his bad moments, but he had a lot of good moments. I feel like he played himself into pretty decent positioning. Bought in, obviously, to what Mike Brown was doing, like a lot of guys. And he's a smart, talented player. So that ended up working out pretty well. And he should continue to improve on that end another year under Brown. And yeah, Malik Monk. I really think that 6th man of the year thing, hopefully he can put together a more consistent season this upcoming year, because it would be great to see him get recognized, or at least finish in the final 3 for 6th man of the year next season.
Yeah, I think he can for sure. I think he actually enjoys being in sack too, with his buddy, like you said, De'Aaron Fox. But I think on top of that, I think he really enjoys sack, and hopefully he can be more consistent going forward. And I mean, if he can, I don't see why he wouldn't even be able to win it at that point, especially for what the Kings should be doing. Next year they should be one of the better teams. So
yeah, and just on the notion of him feeling at home, he got asked in his exit interview whether he felt like Sacramento felt like home, and he said 1,000%, yeah. So 1,000%, that's 100%. That's 100 times 100, right?
Dude, no, it's 100 times 10.
That's right.
That's why you're a lit major. They're idiots.
It's true. It's true. We're not capable of anything else. So
no. Stick to writing.
I'll try.
But his end of the year grade, A-, that what we said? Or was that his second half grade? Okay.
That's his second half grade, and I think that's what, because B first half, A- this. I don't feel comfortable giving him a B+, so I'm gonna say A- overall.
I like it. It's fair. Okay, and then the last shooting guard of the bunch, we got Terrence Davis. I mean, I really like TD a lot. I mean, I just want to give him like a B, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm having a lot of trouble like actually picturing the second half. I feel like I'm just getting really clouded by just the playoffs. I don't know.
One of the things with Davis is we gave him a B+ in the first half because for his role, he constantly showed he was ready. He had some huge games. And I think one of the things that kind of hurt his ability to get on the floor in the second half was the ascendance of Kessler Edwards. And like for that, because he still shot like around 38% from 3. He had some pretty big games stepping in, but it didn't seem like it was as big of an impact as that first half, which is fair to say. But I don't feel comfortable giving him anything like low. First half, B+, second half, I don't know if I want to give him a C+. I almost feel like giving him a B-, just because, even when the opportunities came, he was still pretty solid. I still feel like it wasn't as great as the first half, but again, I think that had to do with the volume of opportunities. So, yeah, I was like C+ or B-, and I kind of want to give him a B-. I feel it was much nicer this time.
Yeah, I feel like you were very mean that first half grade.
I was like, I gotta be a tough ass.
You're just kind of a dick. But,
you want to give Len a D? He obviously sucks. We'll get to that.
Yeah, I'm good with a B-. I feel like he showed up in the playoffs a little too. Even maybe we didn't want to see him as much in that Game 7.
But his job is to go out there and play hard, and he did that, and I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, and shoot. So that's what he did.
True.
And he's a good shooter. I trust Terrence Davis a lot. So,
yeah, to be fair, I mean, behind Keegan Murray, he had the second best 3-point percentage. So, in the playoffs, rather. I should clarify.
Yeah.
Yeah. Terrence Davis, and one of the things about Terrence Davis is hopefully he gets a good opportunity coming up this next season, because I don't really know that he'll be back with the Kings. I feel like that's kind of one of the more sure things in my mind. Opinion-wise, I don't really see him coming back. I think he'll want to take a 1-year deal somewhere where he'll get maybe more of a rotational role and try to set himself up for a bigger contract. But
yeah, I think so too. I don't see him staying in Sac, especially with Herter and Monk above him. But I mean, I didn't really care too much about Davis coming into the season. I know you really liked him, but I'm like, we got Herter, we got Monk. Like, Davis is old news now. But he surprised me all season long, and I was very happy with what he was able to offer all year.
Yeah. So I think as a third shooting guard, kind of as that ninth or 10th guy in the rotation, alternating. Stayed ready, was pretty effective, played hard. I think a B minus. A B, not a B minus. B overall after a B plus in the first half, a B minus in the second.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, actually, let's think about this for the second half because we were talking about the playoffs being weighed more. Does he deserve a B, or is a B minus actually the plus because maybe he was swinging more on a C plus? I don't know. Maybe we should just stick with the B minus. Go with
I like the B minus.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
yeah.
TD baby.
Should we throw PJ Dozier in there?
No.
No, yeah, I just don't think he had much of a role. Although one of the things that I'm not going to give him a grade, but it's just like PJ Dozier kind of stepping into that third point guard role. I mean, obviously they never really had to use it except for again in mop up time, but good defender, better ball handler and facilitator than I thought, and it'd be interesting to see because he's under contract for next season.
Is he?
It'd be interesting to see if he sticks around or gets moved in a trade or something like that. But I mean, I don't know. I wonder if Dellavedova becomes part of the coaching staff. Do they feel comfortable with Dozier being the? Probably not. You might as well go out and sign Corey Joseph or something.
Yeah,
but
all right, maybe.
Or somebody else. You know, bring Kojo back,
dude. Kojo.
Let's just let's call him anything else.
Kojo.
He's a grown man,
dude. Kojo. Okay, so the shooting guards, I expected a lot more out of them. I expected a lot more out of Herter. I mean, Herter was great in stretches, but I kind of like Monk. But Monk was more like inconsistent game to game, or maybe even week by week, even more so. Where Herter was very consistent month to month, and maybe not even inconsistent. He just got worse as time went away without breaks. Mm-hmm. Like he was great at the start of the season, and then got progressively worse until the All-Star break, and then got better, then progressively worse. So,
right.
Hopefully he can get that under, figured out next year, that conditioning. But, yeah, onto the small forward. I guess we have two now officially.
Hey, finally.
Yeah, it took forever.
But Harrison Barnes, yeah,
Harrison
Barnes, Harry Buckets. We decided to go with A minus in the first half. Being that stabilizing force, being a guy that, maybe we'd like to see him shoot better from three at that point. He was still kind of a consistent veteran presence. Now, I think that can only take you so far.
Yeah.
And his second half in playoffs, I think if you give Herter a C plus in that, I think you got to give Barnes a C plus in that.
Yeah, man.
I mean, maybe even lower because,
well, second half, I think he was better than Herter overall. Mm-hmm. So I think his grade should be higher. I don't know, but I don't know. It is weird because he was terrible in the playoffs.
Yeah,
it's hard to overlook that.
He averaged 10.7 points on 41% from the field in the playoffs and 24% from three. Posted a minus 8.9 plus minus, which was the worst on the team. I don't know. I would say Barnes was worse because I feel like his job was supposed to. You said it last week, I think. It's like this guy was supposed to be the veteran. He's the championship experience guy in the rotation,
Yeah.
And outside of a few kind of dunks that kind of just fired people up, on the floor impact was not exactly there. And defensively, he wasn't very good either. I don't know. I feel like he kind of deserves a C plus also in the second half. I don't know though. Like, what's the argument for a B minus in the second half?
I felt like he was better actually during the regular season than Kevin Herter.
Yeah,
I feel like he finished the season well. I really thought going into the playoffs, I'm like, man, this he's poised to have a big postseason.
Mm-hmm.
I was wrong. but I thought that.
Yeah, I think because I think one of the things is regardless if he gets a C plus or a B minus, I think his overall grade is going to be a B. Yeah, let's go B minus for Barnes because I think taking into account the intangible leadership aspect and which is mostly by example and whatnot, but I think that does wonders. I'm okay giving him a B minus. Some people might think that's a little too nice, but I think
Well, they can do their own grades.
True. So what, a B minus, and you think B overall in the season, or do you want to
Um,
B plus?
no, I'm good with a B. Maybe that's where I dropped the playoff score and really factor that in a little more. That was terrible.
Yeah.
Pathetic.
Pathetic. It's twice for Herter and Barnes. Pathetic.
Yeah, well, I mean,
they were not good when they were supposed to be, 2 of your 5 best players.
Yeah, exactly.
Here is a little more of a bright spot. Didn't get a first half grade, but Kessler Edwards in the second half, we saw him play a pretty nice defensive role at times, checking pretty good players. I think defensively he was awesome in those 21 games post All-Star break. And he did what he had to do. Played his role, didn't try to do too much. He shot 35.7% from 3. Dang. I really think, Kessler Edwards has a club option. I think there's no way the Kings don't pick that up.
Yeah.
I think this guy's going to
no way.
He could really put himself into a position where he's not only part of the rotation during the season throughout the whole year, but if he can really gel with everybody and make improvements, he could be huge come playoff time.
Huge.
Really interested to see how he'll be able to, because I think he has a chance to really just slide right into this core, so to speak, and be huge. I mean, I think given the role, given the expectations of when Monty McNair traded for him, I think you got to give him an A minus.
I think so too. You don't really have any expectations. Kind of like, all right, what do we gave up who for this guy?
David Michino, which I get.
I need to know. I need to know. I need to remember this. I just say it every time.
David Michino, man. I mean, you give up a lot, but you got a lot.
Yeah.
But seriously, we said that this was a low risk, high reward trade. He's proven to be on the higher end of the reward category, I guess. Kessler Edwards, just awesome.
Yeah.
I think that was such an underrated move by McNair.
Yeah, really. I remember a trade deadline where everyone was just making moves left and right. Yeah, the Kings get Kessler Edwards. That's gonna be their trade deadline. It's like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like whatever, but I'm also like, all right. We could just give up like 2 second rounders and got probably any player in this league.
We could have gotten Jared Vanderbilt.
JV.
Who? Bunch of casuals. But Kessler Edwards, just great in terms of what he needed to do. A minus is pretty easy.
Yeah, I agree. He deserved it.
And overall, at that small forward wing position, I mean, Barnes was pretty solid, and Kessler Edwards was a pleasant surprise, I guess, would be a nice characterization.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe not even that much of a surprise, because it's like, even after a while, it's like when we talked about that trade the week of, it was just like, oh yeah, I don't know. And then like the next week after sitting on it for a week, being able to digest it, I mean, it was clear that it was not a bad move at all. But yeah. Kessler Edwards, Harrison Barnes, not bad.
No, it'd be interesting to see how the small forward position looks like next year.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, not bad at all. I mean, we give Barnes a B for the year, and Edwards about an A minus, considering he was only on the team for half a year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, about a B plus B, I guess, because Barnes holds more weight. But I guess on to the other forward position, unless you have more to say.
No. Perfect. Moving on to Keegan Murray.
I mean, A, right?
I mean, I think for second half, I think it's got to be an A, because we gave him an A minus in the first half, and I think all the things that he needed to grow upon, he showed growth at. So I think an A, and obviously we're talking about the playoffs. We're talking about how much that playoff showing is going to do for him next year, and there's extra high hopes. Not only is he a first team All Rookie, but he could be he could really make a substantial jump in year two. I think it's pretty easy to give him an A, especially
Yeah.
like standing up as a rookie and remaining confident, remaining poised. Just kept growing. So what more is there to ask for? I feel like his
Yeah.
second half was almost better in that regard with growth than that first half, which is exactly what you want. You
Hmm.
know, that's when it should start to accelerate.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And he had after those first two games in the playoffs too, he was super good, super effective. Yeah, he deserves it.
I mean, he was the only one that shot over 36% in the playoffs,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is that really does paint a pretty big reason why the team as a whole struggled. But Murray did his part from beyond the arc as much as you could ask.
Hmm.
And then just the jumps and being able to rebound. You've seen defensive growth with the ball in his hands. Hopefully, all of that is just multiplied.
Yeah,
But yeah, he was terrific. I think this was one of the this is a good positional group just with Murray and going on to the next fellow. But I mean, I guess an A minus and A. What do you think? A minus or A for the final grade?
I just think an A, all rookie first team, hit 200 threes, shot like
Yeah,
41 from three. I mean, that's it. That's all you can ask for from a rookie, and he
yeah.
did
It's probably
exactly that.
more than they. It's probably more than we could ask for. Honestly,
Exactly.
yeah, I think you're right.
So I think he just gets an A. He was
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
And Trey Lyles, we gave him an A minus in the first half. I think that was kind of a no brainer in terms of consistency on both ends of the floor as a bench player. He seemed like the guy, not necessarily the best bench player, but most consistent, most reliable, star in his role type guy. I think the only thing that really changed in the second half was his 3-point percentage. But even then, I mean, he still shot 36% in the post All Star, which goes right into it. So that initial impression that I had, like based on the eye test of like, yeah, his threes weren't falling at the same clip in the second or in the post All Star break. Well, they did. So I think, and he's always been one of the smarter players in terms of squeezing into where he needs to go. One of the most consistent rebounders, has a great body for boxing people out. I mean, it just seems like a no brainer to go A minus again, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Stu. I mean, Lyles was so good. He was one of the key players off the bench. Maybe not always put up. He wasn't like the highest scorer. That was Monk or, off the bench, I guess. Or, I mean, he grabbed rebounds very well. He's kind of like, I don't know. He was just awesome. I love Lyles. And
Yeah.
I mean, we'll probably get more into it later, maybe in another podcast. But, I mean, you have to resign that guy. You have to.
And he's got early bird rights, so that definitely helps the Kings' cause. And I think the fact that Trey Lyles is a journeyman, and he's said it himself, he's never felt so close to a group, he's never felt so at home in the NBA. And he's a guy, that's bounced around, and he must have had, and that can't be easy, you know, coming
Mm-hmm.
into the league and just like coming in as a young guy, coming out of that a very successful program, and then like going to Utah and never really getting footing. Eventually he went to, after I think a trip in Denver, he went to San Antonio. Kind of looked like maybe he'd be able to carve something out, but then San Antonio didn't want to keep him. He signs with Detroit. Detroit trades him. And it's just like, well, now I'm in Sacramento. And everything worked out great.
Yeah.
And we saw it last season. It's just like, man, like, even with DiVincenzo there, he still felt like by the end of the season last year that he was the second best pickup at the trade deadline. And I mean, after the season he put in, that trade deadline that McNair pulled off last year looks like incredible.
Yeah.
And Trey Lyles is just the exact guy you want coming off your bench, and smart, close with the guys, does a bunch of different things. We'll call him the MCP of the bench, the most consistent player of the bench. He's another guy I have a soft spot for.
I love Lyles. So does he get an A minus on the year as well?
Yeah, A minus all the way around.
I think so. He was fantastic.
And then on to the four centers. Or wait, am I miscounting?
No, I think there's four. There's four centers.
Yeah. I don't want to forget about good old Chimezi Metu.
Yeah.
I didn't even write him down here. Oh my god,
To
Chimezi
start,
Metu a bit of a. We'll get to him, but go ahead with the other all star on this team.
yeah. So I mean, you start off with Sabonis. I mean, he gets an A for sure. No matter how you felt about him in the playoffs, I think. I mean, that he was so good. And down the stretch, I feel like he was getting triple double every other game. Like for real though. I mean, he was arguably the best player in the regular season, and yeah, maybe he didn't show up as much in the playoffs. And it's not like he didn't even show up. It just wasn't a good matchup for him.
Exactly.
And it was just a shame because you play the Lakers in the second round. He's going to be battling, having a lot better series. But we never got to see that, unfortunately. But I don't think he should be knocked too hard. Like, yeah, like he should be knocked a little. I get it. But he was, he did everything he could for this team. And he gets an A or an A plus, just like Fox, the two All Stars on this team, as I think they deserve.
Yeah, I feel like the only reason I would knock Sabonis down is if I felt that they lost the Warrior series because of him, and I really don't feel that way. I just think the 3-point shooting decline, the decline in performance from guys like Barnes and Herter was far more of a stain on their ability to win that that tough series. And as you said, as we were saying going into the series, this was not a favorable matchup for Sabonis. The Warriors are a weird team when it comes to the center position, and they can make things difficult. And so we knew what Sabonis was getting into. Like you said, take the playoffs out of it. He was just, I mean, talk about MCP. He was the real most consistent player all season.
Yeah.
People shouldn't lose sight of the fact that Sabonis is one of the best centers in the league, one of the best players in the league.
Mm-hmm. Not at all.
Yeah. So A. First half, second half / playoffs, and overall grade A. Pretty great. Pretty good move to get that Sabonis guy.
Yeah. And it was nice to see him in the first full year in the Kings because he looked so good in that second half in SAC the first year we got him. But he lived up to all the expectations in his first full year. Incredible.
That's true. It's weird. What order do you want to go in now following Sabonis?
I think we should go to Lynn next,
Yeah.
just because he was the primary backup to Sabonis down the stretch. I mean, for expectations wise, I feel like he deserves an A, right?
Yeah. Let me put it this way. I gave him a D plus in the first half because I felt like, well, they're never giving him a chance. And as much as Mike Brown wants to say, like, yeah, I just haven't given him a chance, that to me felt like, well, they know that they have a hole here personnel wise in Alex Len, and they don't want to put him out there. Yeah. Well, I'm throwing that grade out. The dean has taken that off his permanent record, and I want to say that for the second half, I want to give him an A, and then overall give him an A minus.
I love that.
And I just think that that's fair. He really was the most surprising impact player, and he finished out 8 games of the regular season terrifically. He even played pretty solid into the early games of the playoffs, of course, with adjustments and whatnot. Things were not favorable for him. But if we're talking about things not being favorable for Sabonis, the fact that Len was playing impactfully in the first 2 or 3 games, really, he deserves to be commended for that. And, he doesn't go out there and hurt you, really, which was great. Nice size, but wasn't, a clunky caboose out there,
Yeah. And even that first playoff game, he won the defensive player of the game chain.
Right. Yeah. So he had that emphatic block.
Yeah.
And as much as Mike Brown will be like, yeah, blocks don't matter. It's like, man, I didn't even think of the block. All season, you don't see them in that many blocks. You almost lose sight of the fact that, like a dunk, a block can be an energy play.
Oh, for sure.
So, Alex Len, he's earned his flowers. Give me an address, Alex. I want to send you some edible arrangements.
Yeah, Alex was. It was kind of like, where's this guy been all year? And it's not even his fault. It was like it was from Brown. It was kind of weird, but his
Yeah.
number finally got called and he showed up.
You know what's interesting is we saw that game when Sabonis missed that first game against Denver right after the thumb injury, and Mike Brown was diagnosed with COVID, couldn't coach, and so Fernandez went out there, and Fernandez, I guess, made the decision to start Len. I wonder how was Fernandez in Brown's ear about using Len all year. I'd be interested to know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Interested to know how much or who was vouching for him because it sounds like whenever Mike Brown finally makes a decision, he's like, "Yeah, I finally gave in to Jordy or Luke
Yeah,
Walks or Robbie Lemons or these guys." And yeah, I don't know. That would be an interesting thing to think about.
that's
But
a good
Alex
point.
Len was just terrific,
Yeah,
given that he did not have a chance.
yeah,
Then finally kind of got one, and he was just, whoa, this guy's been the best backup. Even in an 8-game stretch, he was the best backup all season.
by far, incredible.
The guy that almost won that, though, was Chimezi Metu. But Chimezi Metu just kept doing things to make himself lose the job. He never held on to it for very long. And we gave him a C plus in the first half. I want to give him a C minus in the second because it just felt like you lose the job because you start playing outside yourself. You should stop trying to play outside yourself. And he kept doing that. And he lost the job again by doing that. And I don't know. Sometimes you wonder with players, as much as he wants to play a certain role, it's like sometimes you can't shake the self-perception. And there's some self-perception that Chimezi Metu has where he's like Naz Reid or something. Maybe even better than that, honestly, in his head. So it's like, man. And I say this again. I was reading an article that we posted a year ago going into the offseason about potential free agents. And because Chimezi Metu was going in with a club option, we threw him into the article. And I was reading it and it's like, yeah, the interesting thing about him is that the way he finished the season kind of being a stretch big, like if he can do that for a whole season, which was never guaranteed, never promised, like that would really play into an opportunity to have a good role and be an effective player. And that just never surfaced. If anything, he got more hesitant with his three-point shot. I think one of his last times as the backup five, and even some of his final performances, he'd get wide open shots on the wing. He wouldn't even take it. And of course, you don't really want Metu to play outside himself, take those shots all the time. But there's a philosophy here to let it fly, especially when you're open, and to instill confidence in yourself and to let the other team know that that's a confident shot. And so he was a weird mix of being overly confident and not confident. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. He's a guy that's got full bird rights connections to Mike Brown. So it's like, if they want to bring him back for a dime, I don't know, as like a depth piece, but it's just like, if you could avoid bringing Chimezi Metu back, I think based on his season, that's kind of the feeling I get,
It'll be kind of weird. Like, who's going to back up next year? Do you just go to Kada at this point? I don't know. It's going to be kind of interesting because Lynn's a free agent as well.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is the market for centers. Like, there's like Naz Reid is probably going to command some money, but there's like Christian Wood is an interesting guy that maybe could get on a 1-year deal, kind of have a year that gets him back on track. I don't know. There's some interesting players out there. Maybe they try to add a 5 through the draft and let him and Kada battle it out. I'm not sure. But if the Kings cannot go into next season being like, yeah, no, Metu, he'll figure it out. He'll be the guy.
No, I mean,
I don't even see that.
It'd be dumb to, especially after his lack of play in the playoffs and him kind of just seemingly losing his job down the stretch. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you would be hard to even like go back to that. It's just it'd be a bad look.
Yeah, but C minus for the second half, is that fair? Or do you want to go lower?
No, I'm fine with the C minus. I mean, he wasn't like absolutely terrible, but he did lose his job, which also I'm kind of happy with that. I feel like maybe if he didn't lose his job, he would have been. It may have gone lower. He made to the playoffs. He screwed us. So
Yeah,
he
that's
kind of
fair.
like, yeah, he didn't get a drop as low because he didn't get a chance to play. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to Alex Lynn him like he did in the first half.
Yeah, I've learned not to be so mean. I think
Yeah.
that's why I'm not so mean this time around. It's just like, Alex Len proved that just give me a second, you don't need to be a jackass.
Yeah, exactly. But on to the last guy. And this is a guy I kind of want to give an incomplete as well. Well, not as well, but maybe an incomplete. I don't, it's kind of a weird one because it's like Rashawn Holmes. Can you give him an incomplete based on the money he's making and what he's done in the past, or
That's
does
the
he,
one stickler. That's the one thing.
or does he just get an F because of that? If he's non-playable.
In the first half, I gave him a D minus because of that whole like principle of not giving a guy an F. Although you made a good point. It's like if you're ever going to give a guy an F, this would be the time. But it's interesting. I was such a jackass in the first half. I'm like, no, don't give Holmes an F.
Yeah,
Defending him.
just screw over Lynn.
I mean, I'm far more sympathetic just given the fact that it's like, when Mike Brown noted the fact that he's still dealing with stuff off the court, the defamation suit gets filed in early March. I mean, like, I would want to give him an incomplete for the second half.
Yeah, that's how I feel
which
too.
probably therefore warrants an incomplete overall.
Yeah,
But it at the same time, I mean, Holmes, I mean, there's no way to know exactly what the Kings were more likely, hopefully, another team would get out of Holmes next season at age 32 now or going on to that.
mm-hmm.
So that'd be interesting. But yeah, I would give him an incomplete. I mean, I
I'm
think
gonna
that's
give him
fair.
the benefit of the doubt with all the off-court matters as well. Like especially when Brown said it seemed like it was still affecting him more than he was giving, I guess, the off-court stuff credit. Holmes, I'm talking about. So I'm okay giving him an incomplete. I don't know if he's on the team next year and he's still not playing. If he's gonna get the same, he's gonna get the same grade, the same generosity of an incomplete.
Yeah, they got to find a way to get rid of him, though. That's kind of imperative, especially if
Oh,
they're going to either sign a replacement to Barnes or sign a couple of players. They want to put themselves in a good position to set Sabonis up for that contract extension, which I guess would give you another extra year of leeway. But just given everything, I feel like you have to get rid of Rashawn Holmes in some capacity.
for sure, you have to. I
But
mean, you have to find a way. Not going to be easy, but one of McNair's biggest challenges yet, really.
maybe that's why McNair held on to a bunch of second-round picks.
Yeah, very true.
Package them up.
Give
But
Rashawn Holmes with 5 second-rounders.
that's not, hey.
I'd be like, sure. I don't even care. I don't even care about second-rounders.
Yeah, I know you don't.
I really don't.
Oh, yeah, I can't really blame you. But yeah, incomplete for Holmes. Just at the end of the day, in hindsight, it just seems like that's the way to go.
Yeah, I think so too.
But that's everybody.
That's everyone.
Should we rate KZ Okpala? We gave him a C in the first half. He gets released. Does he get an F?
Yeah.
Or do you have they listed him with like knee splints or like knee soreness or something?
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I'm like, is that a real injury?
KZ, and who is that other guy?
Withdrawn.
Who is the other guy?
Chima
Maneke, yeah.
Yeah, they get W's withdrawn.
Yeah. Poor Saps.
They'll figure it out. I'm sure Chima Maneke is going to have a great career overseas. He seems like he's very talented over there. Pretty high price commodity, I guess.
Is he?
And then Okpala, I don't know. Yeah. Because he won the MVP of that one tournament going into this season or whatever, which was kind of a big deal. But, that's only important relative to that level of competition. So it doesn't really mean anything here. But Okpala, I don't know. Be interesting to see what happens with him.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a grades. I mean, I think maybe it's just me and you conversation. Maybe we should hold off on the off-season talk for.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we could do a whole off-season preview next week. Stay tuned
Mm-hmm.
for that.
Yes. Stay tuned. Off-season preview next week. Just repeating you. uh,
Is there an echo?
yeah, that's the Kings' grade this year. I think as a whole, they get an A. Ended their playoff drought. I mean, still a lot of awards: the rebounding
Yeah.
champion, the clutch player of the year champion, the NBA coach of the year, executive of the year, all NBA or all rookie first team for Murray. Probably going to be looking at some all NBA teams this or today with Fox and Sabonis. Just an incredible year altogether. Third seed in the West, most wins since 2006. Just an incredible year, really, and it's going to be hard to top it, but it's definitely possible. And I guess that's what we're going to get into next week: how the Kings can improve it.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, do you have anything else to add?
I don't think so. But just keep an eye out for Grady Dick.
Keep an eye out for Grady Dick.
Dick from deep.
The Dickens.
That's Mike Brown says that all the time. He'll always say there's something. Something. He played the Dickens out of the something, or he scared the Dickens out of me. Or he'll just use that. He's the only person I've ever heard say that.
It's kind
Maybe
of funny,
not ever, but in the league, it doesn't. It
is like funny. I feel like you hear that more like TV or something.
The Dickens.
The Dickens. Yeah. Grady Dickens.
Yep.
Grady Dick Dickens. But all right. I want to thank you all for tuning in. And until next time, have a good one.